No. I keep it noisy.
Let's get started, Eugene.
Well, good evening. Happy New Year, one and all. We're delighted you could join
Recording in
us.
progress.
We're speaking to you from our home in Boca Raton, Florida, where we like to spend our winters. But we want to welcome each and every one of you from around the country and around the globe. We've got some very exciting information to share with you tonight. And I think by the end of tonight's little chat, you'll begin to see things very clearly, because we are bringing you the best of the best.
Sorry, Eugene, by mistake I mute you. Sorry.
Okay, are we all set, Shirley?
Give me a thumbs up, somebody.
Yes. Nice, okay.
Okay, well, good evening and Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Welcome to our home here in Boca Raton, Florida, where we prefer to spend our winters because it's a little bit chilly right now up in New York. But welcome to anyone who's zooming in from around the country and around the globe. Some of you know we're operating in over 50 countries as we speak. So we're delighted to have you on this evening. We want to share a vision with you. It's not so much about us tonight. It's about you, where you are, where you want to go, and hopefully we can provide some insight so that if you decide you want to join us and you're looking for a brighter future, we certainly think you zoomed into the right Zoom. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Eugene Crosilla. This beautiful Asian woman next to me, who I have the pleasure of sharing my life with, is Wen. Most of you know her as Mimi Rosenkrantz. And we're at a point where we've seen so much destruction. There are people hurting. There are people that are lost. And the one thing that we believe that we cannot give up on is hope, because there's always a silver lining, I believe, at a light at the end of that tunnel, so to speak, or a silver lining behind that cloud. And in times of change, there will be winners and there will be losers. Many people have lost their homes, they've lost their jobs, their livelihoods, but there are also people on the other side of that equation who've done quite well. For those of you who joined us last time, I talked about some of the people, the pharmaceutical companies who are manufacturing vaccinations. Do you think they're earning any money? Or how about the people who are manufacturing surgical masks? And what about these little COVID tests? So there are obviously people on a different side of the equation who are earning significant income. So I think Eric Coffey, there was a quote that he had said: in times of change, learners, people who are willing to learn, will inherit the earth, while the learned, academia to a large extent, will be equipped for a world that no longer exists. And we see this with a lot of college students who are coming out of college. Half of what they've learned is obsolete before they even receive their degree. So we're going to talk a little bit about vision. And I think the future really begins. If you'd be kind enough to mute out, that would be helpful. So maybe any information. Thank you. So here we sit in this crossroad. And we've actually brought you the best of the best that you're going to be hearing from very shortly. Some people have asked if we could share our story just to give people some background. Again, it's not about us, it's about you. So we don't want to spend a lot of time on that. My background was in catering. I had a very successful catering company out on Eastern Long Island, Southampton. Some of you heard about the Hamptons. You have Robert De Niro living out there, Billy Joel, all the movie stars. So I had a very elite clientele. And I catered to some very, very wealthy people, and I did extremely well. However, I worked on Friday and Saturday and Sunday and Easter and Thanksgiving and New Year's while everyone else was playing. Like last night, I was working. I happened to, almost by accident, meet some people. Wen was one of those people who were actually living the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to lead. Because if she decided she wanted to go home to Taiwan and visit her family, she just bought a ticket and went. Didn't have to worry about employees or storefront, traditional business. And that's really what I was after. More than the money, because I always did okay economically, but I wanted the freedom to just be able to pick up and go wherever I wanted to go. Worked really hard, got to the pinnacle of the compensation plan. Who knew years later, Wen and I would be blessed to share my life with her. And then she was on a 5-year vacation at the time. And that just blew my mind. 5-year vacation. I mean, I couldn't get 5 minutes off my business, and if I did, it just never worked right. Those of you who've been in business know exactly what I'm talking about. And after working so hard, we met and we decided to take a 5-year vacation together. It was mind-blowing for me. I mean, I was a poor Italian boy from an inner city in Brooklyn, New York. I lived in my grandmother's tenement building. Trust me, we had no money, but we were very rich in culture and in cooking, and that's how I learned to cook. So at least it gave me the opportunity to go into a catering business and be successful in that area. So I want Wen as quickly as she can to, again, just so you guys have some frame of reference, maybe who we have not had the pleasure of meeting yet. So you can see that there are different people from different walks of life, different educational backgrounds, and all different kinds of, different talent that actually have come to see the vision that we're going to talk to you about tonight. And we're certainly, hoping that you can see it as clearly as we do, because it's going to be an exciting ride.
All right. Okay, Eugene, thank you. So welcome to our home in Florida. We just love here and just so awesome to be here. And we are just so delighted today. Really, everyone, you are so privileged because we have the best giants in the industry, and they are with us, and they're trying to get to meet them. And the other thing I just noticed, all of us, between Eugene and I, and the speaker, Craig and Jeff, we all been with the company for over 30 years. So we are truly the pioneers. And for me, it was 34 years ago. My life has totally changed. And I'm originally from Taiwan, and came to this country looking for dreams and to work harder. So the only thing I knew was to study hard. And with the 2 master's degrees, accounting and computer science, I was promoted as a corporate controller of a major New York firm, but I was slaved by my boss. I was literally doing 3 jobs, working 70 hours a week, nonstop for 10 years. And one day I literally passed out at work, and I was 36 at that time. And that was the wake-up call for me. I say, I'm done with this. I want my life. I want to live my life. And I miss my mama. I don't get to see her because I never had time. So that was only my reason. I want to really have a home business, so that I can have time and the freedom, and also make money so I can be home with my children. And if I want, I can pick up my bag and go home to Taiwan to see my mama. And that was the only reason. And then after I quit my job, 2 days later, phone rang. And that is what happened to me in 34 years ago, 1989. At that time, U.S. was so small, was only in the United States. I just want to share one most important thing about your dream. And I just want to go home. I want to be free. And then shortly after I joined, the company said, we're going to open up Taiwan. I said, oh my God. That means I'm able to go home to see my mama now. So because of that, we helped the company open up Taiwan, and that's another story. We did a pre-marketing for over a year, and that 1 year was very difficult because there was no product. You cannot sponsor people. You cannot really make any money, but it was the vision, knowing the future is bright. So thank God that we put the effort to do the payment and then recruited, build a lot of leaders. And because that now our team in Taiwan just had 30,000 people and more, and then expanding all around the world. And because that allowed me and Eugene have the freedom. And the best part was I was able to spend so much time with my mom before she passed away. I was able to go home 5-6 times a year, the precious time. I think family is the loved one, and it's really boiled down to what's important to you in life. And you don't want to have regrets, and that life is so short. I'm just so glad because Nu Skin I have no regrets, and is able to do the things that's important, and also met Eugene in this business, and he has been my dream since I was a little girl. To me, the Italian prince. So you just never know what the dream is going to bring you. So tonight, I think, Eugene, would you like to introduce the two most important speakers?
Yeah, well, first we're going to introduce a gentleman by the name of Jeff Mack. I think most of you know who he is, so his reputation kind of precedes him. The guy's really a giant in the industry. You're so fortunate, we all are, to have learned from Jeff and have been coached by Jeff. And he's literally touched millions of people around the globe, directly and indirectly. And he was one of the pioneers very, very early on who helped this company to put them on the map and to help them to expand in so many different countries. And of course, he's going to share a little bit more in detail about that. Guys, he's got a heart of gold. He's all about contribution. He's all about helping people. And I know within his family, they call him the Superman, and we can see why. So without any further ado, let's introduce the Superman. Jeff Mack, please take it away.
Actually, Eugene, they call me Clark Kent. And so before Superman transforms, so I'm on this pedestal, Superman's up here, but hey, it's good to be here. Thanks for inviting myself and Craig on tonight. And what I want to do is just take a couple of minutes and lay the foundation a little bit, and then we'll have Craig kind of paint the big picture for us, and then we'll kind of close it and get to where we need to be. But you know, it's interesting. My story kind of dovetails into where we sit today. You know, I look at this situation, and I've been in the business for about 35 years now. All right. And I remember distinctly when I looked at the business back in the mid 80s. Now, I know some of you are old enough to remember the 80s. Some of you guys are thinking, oh my gosh, you're that old. Yeah, I'm 65. All right. But I remember being back in the 80s. And if you remember back then, they called that the Great Recession. That was the worst time economically in the United States since the Great Depression. And looking at that, as I think back, I remember it was a dark time. There was uncertainty. People weren't sure how things were going to be. And I remember, you know, Craig Tillotson, Craig Bryson, and Clara McDermott, you're going to hear from Craig tonight. They were the founding distributors of New Skin. And Craig Tillotson approached myself and a guy named Nathan Ricks, who several of you guys know, and started to talk to us about this business. And he said, you know, we want you guys to come on board and do New Skin. And I remember the conversation was like, we're not going to do New Skin. Are you serious? That's kind of a girl's deal. You guys are doing facelifts on laying people down and painting their face. That's not what our deal is. You know, we're real estate guys. We don't do that. And Craig kind of cut us off at the pass. He says, you know, guys don't understand. These products are in demand. People enjoy them at the grassroots level. They can't do without them. And that just says that this thing's going to be big. Now's the time to grow it. And we need you guys as promoters to come on board. And so we did. I'm immediately thinking, man, how are we going to do this? You know, it's dark out there. And all of a sudden the light came on. When it's dark outside, sell light. When there's no vision, provide vision. And so our story was simple. It's like, guys, we know it's been rough out there. We know you're uncertain. But what if you joined us? And over the next 2 years, we grow this company from small to big. What could your life look like? And they came. And they came in droves. See, we cut the entrepreneurial heart out of the market because they were looking for what we were selling. They were looking for hope. They were looking for vision. They were looking for a future. And we offered that. And they came in droves. And then our product just filled the gap and elevated it. Okay. And we went from 40 million to 500 million in 20 months. Now, how does that happen? Vision. People could see that we were going into a growth phase. Well, fast forward a little bit as time has gone on, New Skin continued to go around the world. And myself personally, I just dialed in for 18 months, 2 years, didn't come up for air. I came up, I had people better than me in the business. As time went on, they went into other markets. And one story I'll share because it has application here is when Thailand was opening. I distinctly remember 9 months in advance, they leaked it and they said, we're going into Thailand. I thought, Thailand? Well, I'm not Thai. I don't speak Thai. I've never met a Thai person in my life, but I read up on it. It's going to be a good market. And so I said, you know, we're going to go after Thailand. So me and 4 of my friends, I said, let's go after Thailand. And people are saying, well, how are we going to go after Thailand? I'm like, I don't know. Find a Thai restaurant, grab a Thai guy, start asking around who's been there, you know, who's maybe gone on a mission there, who speaks the language. And before you knew it, word started to get around. It leapfrogged from Utah, where I lived, to LA. And lo and behold, we tapped in to people that had contacts in Thailand. And the story was very simple. It was simply this: we're going into Thailand. We've had success everywhere we've gone. We knocked it out of the park in Japan, and we think it's going to be a huge market. Whoever positions and takes advantage of the market is going to do very well. We don't know who it'll be. Maybe it's you. You should join us. See, what we were doing here, if you look at the Rogers adoption curve, okay, and really what happens here is anything is accepted into the marketplace. If it's an opportunity, if it's a technology, whatever it is, the the leading edge, that 15% that are innovators and early adopters, they will move as opportunists before all the lights are green and all the questions are answered. The majority of the population fall into the next three categories: the early majority, late majority, and the laggards, and that's 85% of the population, okay? Well, we were looking for those that had vision, and so we threw it out there, and some people would say, I'll wait till the market's open, fine. Well, I'll wait, I need to have product first, fine. I'm gonna wait and see how it goes first, and then I might join, fine. We'll talk to you later. Those that took action, we moved with them. Fast forward 9 months, they opened the market, and I'm feeling like, okay, I think we got something, because we had people that had signed up, they became blue diamonds in the pre-market, okay, pre-market before it opened, right? And they had people around developing leaders, and I had to make an executive decision. I thought, you know, it looks pretty good. I rented the biggest hotel in Bangkok, Thailand, the Emerald Hotel, 2,500 seats in that ballroom. Okay, and that wasn't cheap, so I had to be kind of sure what was going on. So that's what we did. We did 2 sessions, morning and afternoon. The first session, 2,500 people showed up. Me and my 4 friends, 5 of us trained 2,500 people. The afternoon session, 2,500 more different people showed up. So in that first day, me and my 4 friends trained 5,000 people. By the end of the month, about 3 weeks, that 5,000 turned into 30,000 people. You know what happens when 30,000 people order product? It's like an explosion. Now, there were people that said, oh, you guys cheated. Oh, you guys had an advantage. You guys knew something we didn't. No, it was none of that. It was an orchestrated effort, and we realized that we were going to attract a certain group that would take action before the masses moved, all right? And that's what happened. Now, today, our Thai leaders are some of the strongest people in the entire company. Get anybody, and if you know them, you know that I'm telling you the truth. They are sharp, and they were born before the market even opened. So, what's the moral to that story? Move before the masses do. Well, as time has gone on, I guarantee you, there's no one on this call right now that could have predicted the last 3 years of what the world has gone through. I mean, if I came to Wen and Eugene 5 years ago and said, I'm going to write this horror story, and this horror story, they're going to release a virus into the environment. Some people are going to die, others are going to get sick. Governments are going to respond by shutting down, businesses. They're going to sequester people into their homes. They're going to lock everything down. I mean, and it's going to be horrible. And to make matters worse, as that period of time passes, there's going to be 2 or 3 years of darkness, of economic uncertainty around the world as people go into a time of economic crisis. Now, if that was the story I concocted in my brain, you would have thought I was sick. But guess what? That's exactly what's happened. And we're still in it. Now, it's interesting. We had some very creative women in our business that figured out social media. Okay, now think about this for a minute. In a time when everyone was going backwards and things were crumbling, these girls figured out how to market lower end products into the marketplace, and people would buy them on social media posts. They would drop ship right to their home. People would fall in love with the products and want to become part of the business, and we would upgrade them into leadership status. And we found some of the best leaders we could ever find in a time where no one could find anything. And you look at that and you say, oh my gosh, what happened there? Well, you know what? We proved that you can't beat us. We proved that we're an unconquerable business. We proved that we have a touchless business. We don't have to be in the same room, breathe the same air, or touch anybody. You can't beat us. Well, that put us in a position. New Skin didn't rest. And about 3 years ago, I'm local, in Utah, near the company, and I have good relationships with other leaders around the world. And I was going in trying to talk to the company on their behalf to see if we could get things done to kind of mesh together. And Craig Bryson, our founding distributor, is local too. He was doing the same thing. And I ran into Craig. I said, Craig, why don't we join forces and just go in there and work together and talk to these guys? And that's what happened. And in the course of these conversations, Craig sat down and he had this brainchild that started to just flow out of him, where he talked about, what's going to happen with artificial intelligence and DNA and how information will become the new currency, and e-commerce, and all of this stuff. As it started to roll out, he's connecting with Ryan Napierski, who's now our CEO, and they're tracking this whole thing. And Steve Hatchett, who's really changed things internally for this company on a corporate level, they bought his facilities and brought him in-house to make sure everything functioned right. People love Steve. Our distributors love Steve. He's become one of the strongest voices in the corporate high-rise, and he's jotting it down. He's thinking, and he's making, notes. And I remember thinking, man, this looks pretty good. And Craig and I leave the meeting. I said, what do you think? He says, I think they're listening. I'm like, okay. And we'd have other meetings. They're a little quieter. And I'm like, are you sure? He says, well, it's a public company. They're not going to tell us everything. Well, here a few months ago, you heard they announced a $500 million investment for technological upgrade and AI capability. They took us to the cloud, which is expensive and it's complicated. They did that. And then about a month and a half, 2 months ago, I got called back into the company, Craig and I go in there. Craig's there a little earlier than me. And I walk in and he's got a little bit of a smirk on his face. And they hand me this little box, and it's a DNA collection kit. And I looked at the box and the lights came on, and I looked at Craig and I said, you're kidding me. They're doing it. Yeah. How long you guys had this? They said about 3 years. I'm like, 3 years? They're like, wait, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. And then the lights came on. And at the same time, Craig and I said, we have to leak this. Okay? They're backpedaling. No, we're not ready to do that. And we're like, no, you don't understand. The economy's in a tailspin. It's going to be bad for the next few years. The network marketing industry's in free fall. What happened during COVID hasn't been so kind to other companies. They're the walking dead right now. They're out of cash and they're ready to fall. You're going to see a compression, and many leaders are going to be looking for a home. And we sit in the best position you could possibly be in as the most financially solvent network marketing company in the world. We need to leak this. Okay. You guys are under non-disclosure. Don't say this, and this. But the talking points you're going to hear tonight, and Craig's going to expound on, we're already out there. And so that's the stage that's set. Craig's the master. So I'm going to sit back because I love listening to Craig, and he's going to add to what's here. You're going to see where we're at and what the possibilities are. And when you internalize this, you will not be able to shut your mind off. I don't sleep anymore because my mind is just going and I'm connecting the dots. This is exciting.
Well, thanks, Jeff. That's very, very clear. We're excited to hear from Craig as well, because I know things that enter his mind, we still try to figure out where they come from. And I know Craig has been there from day one. So he's seen different administrations, he's seen different economies, he's seen different business people come and go from all walks of life. So Craig, if you'd be kind enough to come on screen and share what's in your brain, we'd appreciate that. And I think everyone else would as well.
All right, can you hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear, but we can't see you yet.
Really?
We can see your handsome face.
No, this.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, you big.
We find you. Okay.
So first of all, let me just say,
We got you.
envy. Hang on just a second. How about now? Can you see me now?
We've got you loud and clear, and we see you clearly. Thanks.
I really envy you guys being in Florida, because here in Utah, it has been snowing for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so a little bit of good weather is very appealing to me. If I can plunge right in, I think there's a lot to say. First of all, I'd like to thank Jeff. Jeff and I have been working very closely together, and he gives me a lot of credit. But the truth of the matter is, it was a joint effort. We spent a lot of time with the company, hours and hours on different days, repetitiously going in there. There were a lot of issues that we felt like had to be squared away, basically in order for us to become a modern company. And the company, over time, they realized that not just in terms of the things that we were saying, but also in terms of what they were watching in the industry. And what Jeff has said is that the industry is wobbling, and that is a tremendous opportunity to anyone who can establish themselves into the future. And that is what Nu Skin is working on. If I can start just quickly by quoting three economists, business gurus, so to speak, for one of them. One is a man by the name of Joseph Schumpeter. For those of you who follow economics, you know that he's famous for a quote that capitalism is creative destruction. And that quote has become just synonymous with what takes place within the capitalist structure, is that you destroy yesterday and your creation of tomorrow. And that we see that all around us. So we see the remnants of what is taking place that fulfills Schumpeter's description of capitalism, is that creative destruction takes place as the economy moves on. And companies are being destroyed because they did not keep up with what was taking place in the larger economy. And so that creative destruction is a true principle, and that a lot of companies have not recognized that, and that anyone who's my age or even younger, you have seen one company after another that failed to stay abreast of what was taking place technologically or socially. The second one that I like to quote is a man by the name of Robert Solow. He's won the Nobel Prize for Economics. He wrote in the 1950s, and he basically was the one. He and one other economist came to the realization that all economic growth emanates basically from technological advancement. Four-fifths of technological, or 4/5 of economic growth comes from technological advancement. I want you to understand the implications of that. Is that if you look over the last 150 years, you see the increase in terms of wealth and standard of living and all those things. They're all based on technological advancement. And that's something that we can't get around. Advancing yourself through technology makes you more wealthy because it allows you to become more productive. It gives you more capital. It allows you to do things for less money. And as a consequence, those companies that embrace that become successful, and they position themselves for the next day because they've been successful today. And so that Solow was very wise in that observation. The other man that I've read virtually all his books is a man by the name of Peter Drucker. And he says true opportunity, real opportunity, comes from convergence. In other words, those technical advancements, not just standing alone, but converging with other social and economic elements, creating an opportunity that never existed before. And that convergence is what we're going to talk about right now. Nu Skin has been successful for a long time. They've been successful because they have been able to look at different markets. They've gone into those markets, and they've been very fortunate and very wise in terms of how they have rolled the business out over the course of the last 30 years. When they got started in the middle of 1980s, it was at the beginning of the aging of the baby boomers. The baby boomers represented 75 million people that suddenly were in the marketplace, and that we capitalized on that advent into the United States market. And as Jeff said, we grew the business over a relatively short period of time from about $50 million to $500 million. To understand the implications of that, you have to appreciate those are inflated dollars, or we're dealing with inflated dollars today. $500 million in 1990 is worth about $1 billion today. We also then capitalized on the globalization of trade. We went into Japan. Japan was mentioned, and we went into Japan in a very short period of time, 2 or 3 years. We penetrated that market to the tune of $600 million, which, if you use the inflation calculation, is the equivalent of about $1 billion today. Each of those, because markets were penetrated as circumstance allow, and Nu Skin became very successful as they rode the wave of globalization into 53 different countries. And so that they saw different things. We opened up Japan and created basically a brand new business because we did it that business in real time. Before that, to do a business in a foreign country through a direct sales company was almost impossible. Nu Skin's technological commitment was to make that business work in real time, and we did. And so that each of these steps, we went into markets, and those markets became successful because we hit the marketplace at the right time. And so as a consequence, you look and say, okay, you can ask me the question, what are the elements that are taking place right now to make this moment in time more productive, more filled with more possibilities than what we have seen in the past. And that it doesn't take much to understand that we are seeing what Andy Grove of the man who created Intel and basically created the chip business in the United States said is an inflection point, a moment which everything afterwards is different. And that's where we are. We're at a moment where everything after will be different. And that the change is going to take place around artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence has been talked about for years. The groundwork for artificial intelligence is visible all over our society. But the truth of the matter is that we've barely scratched the surface. As technologies are converging to make artificial intelligence more profitable and more productive, is that you can see how it's going to change the landscape of how business works. The estimates out there go up as high as $15 trillion are going to emerge from the global adoption of artificial intelligence. And it's going to happen because for those of you who've done your research, you know exactly what it is. It's the collection of massive amounts of data that allows companies to predict the future. In other words, it makes you more productive in terms of your business, in terms of what's going to be productive as far as products that you create, or as far as your marketing is concerned. It's going to be able to lend itself to different companies who are in a position to collect data and to analyze that data and put it through an artificial intelligence prism to make predictions about the future. And so that it lends itself to product creation, to understanding which products will find which customers, to understanding which products can be introduced to customers at different times of year or at different sequences of introduction. There's a host of things that will make the business more productive, incurring an avalanche of additional revenues far and above what we have already experienced. But also as a direct sales company, where really what we're about as distributors is the creation of networks. Artificial intelligence has tremendous value in that. The biggest thing that occurs when a person steps into the business is they waste time on the wrong people. Artificial intelligence holds out the potential to spotlight people who have the ability to pursue the business, who have the time, who have perhaps even the personality to do it. And so it does this through the sifting of information that is so broad and so complete that it dwarfs what any one person can internalize or can observe. And so as a consequence, decisions are better, decisions are more predictive, and as a consequence, more money can be made with less effort. And that is the foundation of what we're doing. But artificial intelligence also sits there at a nexus that is also, let's say, it's comprehensively disruptive. Some of you perhaps have seen the new site that has come out that is an experimental site on artificial intelligence as it's translated into bots. Yeah, you know what bots are. Bots are the robotic responses that you get when you call up. They have program responses to the questions that you ask, and you get a narrow response to those responses, and so that we all know what bots are. But Chatbox GPT is something different, and it's gotten a lot of publicity over the course of the last month. And the reason is the first step where you can actually carry on a conversation that extends beyond narrow programming. And the reason for that is because you have mechanical learning standing behind the operation. Mechanical learning means the machine itself, the computer itself, is learning about the business, about responses as it engages in conversation. So it's not a stagnant programmed response. It is a growth program response that has the ability to change and to respond differently because of the information that it has collected through mechanical means, not through program means. And so as a consequence, you look at this and you realize that this is different, is that AI allows us through the programming taking place independent of individual interaction, is that it allows for us to advance the abilities of the AI mechanism to understand what is taking place, and also, to, as I said before, to give better predictions, better support, and allows us to make more money over a shorter period of time because we've increased our productivity. This is a transformative moment. It is an inflection point, as Andy Grove said, and that those people, as Jeff put forward, those people who look at the business and say, all right, how do I participate at the highest level? And that what Jeff said is that he was able to participate in Thailand at a level that was significant because he saw the future and he worked towards that future. I think Jeff and I ran into each other also in Japan as Japan opened up. And the people who made the largest incomes in Japan were those people who had organizations and had created networks prior to the opening of business in Japan. We've seen that in the United States, that we've made different types of introductions. Those people who worked prior to the opening are the ones who got the biggest return. Nu Skin has been working on this for a period of time. The DNA segment of it in terms of the collection of information is something the company has been looking at, as Jeff mentioned, for 3 years. And so as a consequence, you look at the collection of DNA and you say, where does that lead to? First of all, I want to say that we're not a DNA company. DNA, the collection of DNA, the taking of DNA samples, all of that is merely a segment of the collection of a broad-based sourcing of information, both public information as well as private and personal information to whatever the distributor, the customer wants to contribute. The implications of this is profound because more than one person has said that in the modern world, information has greater value than money. I read a story just the other day. It was about a gentleman who was selling crop insurance to farmers. And he decided that what he would do is he would create a presentation in terms of why these farmers should buy crop insurance. In other words, they buy insurance in case there's a drought or in case something happens to their crop. They don't have to carry the full weight of the market pressure. And so that he started to look at what was available. He started to look at satellite information that was available to farmers, and he began to collect all this information. He put it into one pool of information. And to his surprise, he came to realize that that pool of information was of greater value than the crop insurance that he was selling. And so that he began to sell because the farmer was interested in that information, were willing to pay for that information because it made him more effective. He eventually sold that business based on information to Monsanto for $2 billion. It's an illustration of the value of information. And so when I say that that we're an AI company, what I'm really saying is that we're an information company. That is moving into a realm where information becomes a catalyst for sales, for support, and for a host of other predictive elements within the business. And so that it's going to create a far more productive environment. It also creates the possibility that we can separate activity. If distributors can be paid for information and the outcome of that information and the selling of products and the monetization of that information, and it goes to the company, and the company can use that information to monetize retailing, on the internet, across the internet, then we can segmentize the business. The distributors can pay attention to the creation of networks because that's where the larger incomes can be found. They can support those networks. They can support individuals. But the information that is gathered, that they gather, will then be fed into the company, and it will facilitate the selling of products that will be independent of their day-to-day activity. This has already begun to a certain extent. The company has created a site, an app site that's called Vera. And they opened it up, and they have a collection point of information, and so that there is a survey that people take, and it's been curious to watch the numbers grow. That survey spawned 8% of the people who downloaded the app. 8% of those people who downloaded the app, they ordered. A month or so later, 35% of the people who downloaded the app and took the survey ordered. What we can see is the inflection of information out of query has already started to help the company, not in an AI situation, but a metric situation in terms of understanding what's taking place. The company with the LumiSpa IO, they are collecting information as we speak, and the company has found out that people use the LumiSpa differently than they had supposed. They use it at a different time than they had supposed. It means that they communicate with people at a different time when they're already engaged in the use of the product. It also will show the way the product that they use in conjunction with the LumiSpa. And so in terms of the collection information, this is not something that is just happening, that the company is announcing that they're going to start this process. It's something that is happening right now. They've been collecting information off the scanner now for 20 years. And so that they can use that information, and that the collection of all this information, whether it's private or public, it helps us to think through what the ultimate goal can be. In the world of production, people use digital twins. If you're making an airplane, the cost of creating a theoretical airplane digitally is a lot less than going through a production process where you create that airplane physically. And so a lot of people create a digital twin. And that digital twin helps them to avoid mistakes, helps them to understand what the problems will be in the future, because they have invested that digital twin in information about structure and strength of metals and all those different things that would go into the production of that airplane. We have the same thing taking place in professional sports. Because their athletes are so valuable, they create a digital twin of those athletes, their age, their background, their injuries, so that they can predict perhaps what kind of training program they should do to keep them from being injured, what type of nutrition perhaps is needed to help them to stay healthy. And so there's a host of things that can go into the creation of a digital twin in that setting that will save the investment of the teams. And that this is the value of knowledge. And that when you look in terms of what we're doing, you look in terms of the outcome of the collection of information, you can see that information can be created for those who choose it, can be used to create a digital twin twin that they can use to predict the nutrition that they need to make them healthier, or the skincare that they need to make their skin younger. There's a host of things, a host of predictions that can come from the creation of the digital twin. And that's through not just the collection of their personal information, but the collection of information generally. It is a business proposition in terms of what will be successful within our product categories, but it is also a product situation as well. But let me just say this. AI is fine in terms of spot education, in terms of predictive value for a moment's time or one situation. But that's not the full impact of AI. There are people out there, business writers, that believe the impact of AI is going to be the same as the impact of electricity. It will not get its fullest range of penetration of the market until systems are created that are interwoven with the information. And that is the commitment that Nu Skin is making to us all. It isn't just to sell more product here or to understand, the market over there. It's the creation of systems, and that holds greater potential than anything that we've ever done. It is, to a certain extent, it is something that we can see with Amazon. Amazon stepped forward at their birth, and they sold books and tapes. But that's not what they were building. They were building a system. They were building a system in which to sell products. They didn't care what the products were. Their expertise was in the system. And that is going to be those people who are the most successful with AI, are those people who are dedicated to building a system that will facilitate the business from the beginning to end. It doesn't matter what products we sell. It doesn't matter whether it's skincare or nutrition or any other product that we choose, because the focal point is the system, not the product.
So, Craig, can I just jump in and ask you a question? Because for a lot of people zooming in tonight, I'm sure this sounds like science fiction stuff. So, and I know it's happening. We're all in agreement with digital twins. Do they now have the ability, Nu Skin, do they have their hands on the ability to say, okay, this is your digital twin, and you are maybe leaning toward obesity or diabetes or acne or what have you. And with that digital twin, give you a roadmap so that you can circumvent or avoid some of these, ailments that may be affecting us.
First of all, digital twins is not something that is just coming forward. In other words, there are manufacturers that are using digital twins as we speak. And so that we're not talking about something that is, as you said, alien or in the future. We're talking about something that is on the outer edge of what's taking place, but is definitely current in terms of people appreciating that this has a transformative value. What the company has done, and because I'm talking about it, and because we're under non-disclosure, I couldn't talk about this unless the company had already made a commitment to move down this road towards digital twins. And that if you think of digital twins, you have to appreciate that emanating out of that situation comes a whole list of brand new products that can be sold and that can be created. But it's not something that is futuristic. It is something that is on the cusp. There's only one thing worse than being in a market too late is being in a market too early. And that we are not in the market too early because digital twins are on the cusp of currency. And so that, and the company has made a commitment to go down this road to create an environment where we can create digital twins. And with it, everything that you mentioned. In other words, the predictions of what you might face in terms of injuries or a host of different things. The collection of DNA is not something that is futuristic, is something that is part of what we're doing because it's already out there. We're going to collect information far beyond DNA collection. There is going to be two sets of companies that really benefit from artificial intelligence. It's those people who collect information over a narrow band and those who collect it broadly, who have massive amounts of information that show them something that never has been seen in the business picture that as they have looked at it. And that's what we want to be. In other words, the collection of information, we believe that we have a market advantage. As distributors focus on the collection of information and the company is going to monetize that information in as many ways as they possibly can. We might start off with skincare and nutritional products, but there is no doubt we'll move on to other products as well. And that's what creates the larger income because we are increasing what we sell. Nu Skin started off as a skincare company. They did $1 billion in skincare. When they added a new division of nutrition, they do $1 billion in nutrition. If we can expand through going into new markets, whether those markets are geographical, as Jeff talked about, or whether they're product markets. It is the creation of new markets that allows rapid growth. And that's what Jeff was describing, going into a brand new market that is unsaturated by participants. And that's what we're doing. We're going to create process change within the direct sales company that will expand the way we move products, the way we build products, and that in that process change, we're going to become something else and we'll be, for at least a short period of time, a standalone opportunity doing business in a way that is different because our processes are different. And that is not futuristic thinking. It is solid business thinking with a lot of background in terms of business history.
So Craig, I'm just so excited based on what you just said. Okay, so the create process change in direct sales industry. Do you believe the Nu Skin is the first company that really leading that direction? We are in direct sales industry.
I believe that there is no company that I know that's out there, no company of any size, certainly, that has taken a look at this and realized that the true goal of this isn't to use, metrics or the internet or even artificial intelligence. It is the first company where they realize that they have to let artificial intelligence permeate the whole company. This is the implications of what Jeff is saying. The $500 million that Jeff mentioned is a foundational figure for the transformation of the company. In other words, taking the company from a product-based company to a tech company. That's what the $500 million is about. Is it making us a tech company first that sells products, and that we have to do that. Any company that thinks that they're going to survive going into the future without making that transition are in denial. They're going to fail. You can see it take place right now. So just today, Macy's announced that they're going to close 100 more stores because Macy's has never been able to make the transition from being a retailer to a tech company. And so that Walmart, on the other hand, Walmart decided about 5 years ago they were not going to be left behind. And you can see it in their investment patterns in terms of the companies that they created, that they were not going to be run over by Amazon, and that they have become a tech company because they made a decision. Everyone who looks at AI does not truly appreciate and does not say it. They do not truly appreciate the transformation. I want you to look when I talk about Chat GPT. There are people who believe that Chat GPT has the ability to destroy Google.
Wow.
Chat GPT is a different interface. It is conversational AI, and it is an interface that will be both a multimedia interface where you talk to it and that you also can text it, and it carries on a conversation for you, and you can ask questions and deepen your query. And people are looking at that and say the change of interface has the ability to destroy the monopoly that Google has on search, because the interface with the customer will change so dramatically. And the only way Google can fight it off is that Google has to destroy their historic business, and so that they're caught. So you just look at Chat GPT and the change of interface that will take place across the internet, which is AI in a conversational sense. You can see what the implications are. And that those are the things, when you really look in terms of the definition of artificial intelligence, you say, oh, this has ramifications that I didn't see. Their commitment to go down this road has outcomes that I hadn't been perceptive of. And so that's what makes it remarkable. It is also what makes the possibilities that exist in the business today so dramatic. Questions?
So many.
Wow, that's amazing what you share about Chat GPT can literally destroy Google. Wow.
No.
It's,
The entertainment business. I mean, let's look at just at the headlines in the business section, right? The entertainment business has lost $500 billion in market value because they haven't been able to make the transition into streaming. So the biggest studios, the biggest entertainment companies, they have lost cumulatively altogether $500 billion in revenue. If you look just recently, the Washington Post, and someone recorded it. They had a group meeting of everyone in the Washington Post and announced that they're going to lay off 500 people. Well, they're going to lay off 500 people because they lost 500,000 subscriptions. Because digital news has destroyed a whole industry, and it's taken 20 years. But even a company like the Washington Post, that was the apex of media going back 20 years ago, these reporters who are supposed to tell us the news. When you listen to their comments, you say to yourself, these people don't have a clue what's taking place. They don't have a clue that their business was being undercut by the digital revolution. Look at the New York Times. Nothing happened unless it was in the New York Times. The amount of people who look at the New York Times is nothing compared to middle-of-the-road internet aggregators. And so it all changes, and that you have to be on the right side of change. You look at Facebook. Facebook has lost $700 million in capital value. Everyone thinks that Facebook might be into the death spiral. The changes are there. They're right in front of us. And artificial intelligence in terms of conversation is part of that. a change of the interface, a change of how people integrate themselves into the web, a conversational change, a text change across media, across the media environment. And you can just see it. I mean, you can just see the implications of it because historically it's so transparent and the company sees it and they're going to commit a huge amount of money in its pursuit. And they see it. Our competitors, I can tell you, our competitors, by and large, from what I can see, they don't see it. And so we should have a moment in time. And those people who've lived through a moment in time that I'm describing, that Jeff is describing, they understand the meaning of what I'm implying.
Well, I believe every word you're saying, Craig. I think you're right on target. You know, and again, it's not only Macy's. Just the past few weeks, I happened to go to the mall, and I couldn't believe there's nobody working. You can't find a salesperson. You know, eventually, like Sears and Macy's and so many of these other huge companies that once were, you can see it all coming. So we're right on target. We just want to convey to each and every one who maybe don't understand this in totality to get back to the person, you know, who invited you tonight, because again, it's uncharted waters for a lot of us. But that's where the excitement is. You know, if you turn the clock back to the 40s, early 50s, when franchising first came into the marketplace, people were frightened. People were saying, you're nuts to spend $2,000 on a McDonald's, right? But where was the opportunity? When people were telling you were crazy, or now when it would cost you maybe $1 million in just about any major city. Okay, but now it's acceptable. What I didn't know, and I had heard from someone, that Congress actually came within 11 votes of banning franchising because they said, no, we can't do this. It's a pyramid scheme. And thank God for, I think it was 11 forward-thinking congressmen that said, you know, wait a minute, let's give this a try. Maybe it'll put some people back to work. And look at what happened. Not only with McDonald's, who kind of fought that fight, but Starbucks and Burger King and Carvel, and the list goes on and on and on. So we're going to need some guidance from you. We're going to need some guidance from Jeff. I don't know if you guys have any closing comments as we kind of wind down. We've got a few minutes left, or if anybody else has some questions. But if you have some closing comments, you know, fire away.
Yes, especially with what you just shared between the digital revolution, how it changed the whole world. Now it's the AI. Well, we are right now at this moment is the AI revolution, and Nu Skin is already ahead of any
head of the curve.
Yeah. So how do we take advantage of that? What should we do now?
To be on the right side of that change.
One last point is for anyone who looks at it, you can see the footprints behind us. We can see IBM dominating mainframe, and then the personal computer comes in and displaces mainframe. Desktop goes in, we have a whole array of companies that do very well, and then there's an inflection point and everything becomes mobile. In other words, we can see the footprint of the implications of technical change, and that mobile has dominated the landscape, and now AI is going to provide the same type of inflection point that we've seen in the transition from mainframe to desktop, from desktop to mobile, and now to AI. The company, as Jeff mentioned, the company went on the cloud several years ago. They went through a tremendous amount of effort because they know they needed to be connected to the cloud because of the volume of information that laid in their future. But it is something that I invite everyone to do your own research. Research artificial intelligence, research the economics associated with it, and that you can't come to any other conclusion.
So guys, let me just jump in here, because I'm hearing Craig and he gets me excited because he's the visionary. And do you think he's well read? Yeah. And so I look at that and I say, what's happening here? As Craig describes this, you know what I hear? He's describing the equivalent of the Industrial Revolution, because AI will change the whole world. Okay, it is going to happen. Some people are afraid of it. Fear won't stop it. It's going to do what it's going to do. And those companies that don't change are going to be eliminated. It's happening now. So where are we at? Nu Skin's made the investment. Where does that mean for us? We're in a pre-positioning window. This thing's going to go live in 12 to 18 months. Okay, so what does that mean? Let's say I'm talking to Wynn and we're friends, and she sees the vision. I'm not going to wait for 18 months. I'm going to get with Wen right now. We're going to start doing this business. We're going to talk to everybody she knows because we're looking for the innovators and early adopters. And we're going to lay a foundation right now in the pre-market window because we know when they turn this thing on and it floods the market with assessments, as people then, their DNA gets collected, those assessments go in, then the AI kicks in. And what does it do? It backfills the product. See the information as we talk about that digital twin. Here sits the digital twin of Wen, and here's Wen today. And this is where she wants to be. So how do we get her there? Well, we see the deficits that she has. We collected that DNA. We know her cognitive, faults. We know the spaces that are missing in her health profile. And so AI recommends products that will help to solidify that and elevate her to where she matches that digital twin. As we gather that information, what's the likelihood that Wen's going to go someplace else to buy those products? It's highly unlikely because we've got all of our information here. Now, what does that mean? Okay, well, as we gather that information, what I want you guys to understand what Craig talked about. He talked about Amazon, and everybody here knows DNA is real, right? Because 23andMe and Ancestry have proven that it's legitimate. Well, a few years ago, several years ago, they were talking about e-commerce. Nobody really understood it. You couldn't get your arms around it. Now, all of a sudden, Amazon owns the world. Well, how do they own the world? Because they perfected the ability to go online and sell stuff. And like you say, walk through them all today and wonder where it all went. Well, you know what? There's a reason Jeff Bezos is one of the richest guys on this planet, because what happened was Amazon stole the world. So you sit there, you say, okay, here we are. How does the business look in 18 months? We've laid the foundation with Wen, and now we're bringing people into the business in 18 months. You know how it looks? It's real simple. I send a video to Eugene. He looks at it. He says, hey, this looks really good. We get on a call with my upline. So Craig and I talk to him. He says, look, I'm ready to go. I send him a link to the Vera app. He clicks on the Vera app, which is the portal of the company. He clicks in there. He follows the prompts. He orders his assessment. It comes out. They see the deficits. They're looking at the digital twin. AI steps in and sells the product. I don't. AI does. Now, he may say, hey, Jeff, they're telling me that I need new biome, that I need youth, that I need this. What do you know about these products? Well, Eugene, I've used them for years. Here's the benefits I found. And he orders them. And they're on reorder, and it continues to build and build and build. And then as he says, I want to introduce my friends, we do it. And what do? We send them the video. We send them the link. They're in the system, and they get their product order, and away we go. Now think about this for a minute. I'm under non-disclosure, so I can't talk specifics here, but I can tell you this because e-commerce has been out there in the market forever with our distributors. Here's the bottom line. We've got, how can I say this? We've got arrangements with brand name companies, 6,000 different products we don't have in-house or sell ourselves. But think about it for a minute. We cater to a certain amount of health and skincare and personal care products, but there's thousands of other products that people buy on a daily or weekly or monthly basis. We're not capturing those dollars. What if I told you have the capacity to have your own Amazon business right through that portal of Vera, where they can buy basically anything they want, and it can run through the system and get commission. So in essence, you have your own Amazon mini business as a result of laying a foundation. As these assessments go into the market, AI upsells it, and as it gathers more and more information, it comes to understand everything that Wen and Eugene buy and their patterns and what they like and when they buy it, and it knows when to interject prompts to buy this or buy that, and we expand out through an electronic medium that's in the palm of your hand. Now think about it. What did I do? I send a video, I send a link. That's it. So what are we? We're out there gathering people, and the information flows in, AI starts to sell it, it gets smarter, it expands out, and it captures dollars outside of our current product purview, okay? And the end result is, when that occurs, and that's what they're investing in, this shift that'll be larger than the Industrial Revolution, we're telling you it's here now. We're laying the foundation now. It's not in the future, it's right now. Think Thailand. I say we're launching it in 12 to 18 months. You think Thailand, but on a larger scale. You know what that means? That means I can't sleep. That means I'm engaged again. That means I've got my son involved. And that means I've got 50 people right now I'm looking to sponsor first level. Why? Because I have to. Because I see it. And for me to stay out of the game, I have to have a hole in my head. So here's the last thing I'm going to say. I'm going to turn it over to Wen and Eugene to show you the package. If you don't do this, what are you going to do? Many of you on this call are entrepreneurs. I'm talking to several entrepreneurs myself, people that wouldn't even look at our business 3 or 4 years ago. And they're all over this now. You know why? Because I say this to them. You're an entrepreneur. And what that means is, here you are, and you're going to spend your time getting the best return on your time investment. You don't care where it is. You're an entrepreneur. So then the next thing I say is this. Show me some place over the next 18 months you can get a better return on your time investment than active involvement here with us as we lay this foundation in what will be the biggest growth curve we ever see. In my prediction, I think we'll double the size of this company in 2023. We'll go from $2.5 billion to $5 billion. And if we do that, $10 billion will happen the next year. The good news with that, about half of the dollars that come in is paid out to the leadership that is developing the organizations. You want to change your life? You need to take action right now. Right now, 2023 is your year. You're in the right spot at the right time. Now, whether you do this or not, I don't know. But I'll tell you this, there's people circulating that I've never seen before. The best people I've seen are looking at the business right now that I'm talking to. It reminds me when I started the business back in the 80s, as we cut the entrepreneurial heart out. But you know what? This is much bigger. The shift is much larger. Like Craig said, we're at a moment in time where everything changes. You're either going to be part of it and be part of that economic growth, or you're not going to be part of it, and you're just going to be there wondering what happened. This is your shot. I hope you guys join us.
Thanks, Craig. Thanks, Jeff. Perfect storm. That's what we have here.
Yeah.
I mean, all the stars and the planets are lined up. And even though I know it probably seems complicated to some of us, it's actually going to simplify everything we do. And that's why I think success can truly be expedited.
Yep.
And, you know, I think we're reading some of the same stuff because Peter Drucker once said that human beings are the only animals on the planet that can create our future before it exists. I think we have that shot. I think Jeff Mack very eloquently laid that out. And if we get busy, boy, 2023, without a doubt, can be your year. It can be our year. It can be New Skin's year to make a quantum leap forward. We're a little bit tight on time. We have another Zoom coming up because we're busy at work. If you want to connect with the person who invited you here, it's such a simple method to get started. Do yourself a favor. You'll not only look better, you'll feel better, but you'll improve your pocketbook for those of you who want to do that.
Right.
When do you have any closing comments?
Yes, I'm so excited. Jeff, that's contagious. We haven't been able to sleep. Now, this, I think, the bottom line is everyone, we're going to own our own Amazon mini business right from here, guys. Did you guys hear that? So there's no time to sleep, just like how we did it for Taiwan. We didn't sleep, nothing at all. We, in the beginning, Jeff, remember the tape, Catching the Wave? The wave is coming, right? And Nathan's the one who created, and we really miss him. So anyway, we welcome everybody. We see the comment. We have people from around the world, from Australia, from New Zealand, from Europe, from Taiwan, from Hong Kong, from US. So welcome. I'm so glad that you joined and you guys got the first-hand information. So what we have plans for you, okay? 2023 is the year. We're going to jumpstart, okay? And we do believe our company, just in US alone, within the 2 years, is going to grow to 1 billion. And we know that will definitely happen. So if you want to be part of it, then you got to take massive action with us. So the next action call is for those of you ready to shoot to the moon with us, then join us and mark your calendar for next Monday at 9 o'clock New York time at this platform. And we're going to have the best of the best. We're going to have Jeff back, come back. We're going to have Jeff Mack coming back. We are so privileged. And hopefully Craig can also join us. to conduct the fast start training because we're not going to do slow way. We're going to do a super fast way to help everybody to really run with us and fly with us so that our future will be totally different a year from now. All right. So for those that once you join, you'll be qualified to participate our next Monday, the super exclusive fast start training with Jeff Mack. Okay.
So get set up tonight so you're prepared
Yes.
for what Jeff and Greg will have to share with you next week.
Okay.
All right. Again, we're running tight on time. Greg, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, your family. Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Jeff, same to you and Liz. And we'll see you on the next Zoom if we don't speak before.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
night.
Glad you could join us.
Thank you.